Let's go over to Los Angeles, and I can calm down in the calming company of my friend Kinsey Schofield. How are you, Kins?
Good, Kev.
Good to have you on board. Sorry to keep you there. Quite an extraordinary story developing over this side of the Atlantic. But let's talk about Meghan. I want to talk about all sorts of aspects of her frantic week that we've just experienced. But story cropped up today. You know, we're used to Harry getting involved in charity scandals, sent to Bali. He flounced out of his charity for African kids in a race row. He was accused of racism and white saviorism, and he flounced out. He denies those charges, of course. And then there's the problem with his other charity, African Parks. They're embroiled in scandal now. And now Meghan is going to have to cope with being embroiled in a charity scandal, insofar as a charity for which she is a global ambassador called World Vision, kids charity as well, African kids. The British branch of that is being investigated by the Charity Commission here over allegations that its British office is a toxic environment, toxic and hostile environment, where complaints by staff of racism, sexism and homophobia were either ignored or silenced by the bosses. Now, the charity, World Vision, denies this, but they are under investigation. Now, this is a very famous connection between Meghan and this charity, because when she met Harry, when she was first going out with him in 2016, she went to Rwanda for World Vision as a global ambassador, and there's a very famous picture of her, which in those days endeared us all to her, of her cuddling this African boy. It's a lovely picture. So that we thought, oh, she's a wonderful woman. We were to learn a different kind of truth as the years unfolded. However, she is now going to have to learn what it's like to be embroiled in a charity scandal. And of course, no one is saying in any way this is her fault. She's over on the other side of the Atlantic. But she won't be pleased to be connected to this, will she?
No, I mean, it's, you know what they say, you are who you associate with. And lately, Meghan Markle's name has been showing up in more controversies by proxy. It's a reminder of one of the clearest weak spots in the Sussex brand. They don't do their homework. They accept associations, they accept endorsements, titles, or partnerships without fully mapping every possible risk. And when things go wrong, when scandals erupt or internal workplace culture is questioned, their silence or delayed distancing, it looks bad. Worse, it looks negligent. I mean, you don't just pick your missions or your causes. You pick your partners, you pick your people, you vet the cultures, you visit the boardrooms, you talk to staff, you see whether the values they advise match what they actually enforce, because it's one thing to issue press statements. It's another to have internal policies, accountability structures, and transparency, which if you look at the chaos that's brewing and the three charities you just mentioned, there's issues in all of those categories. Harry and Meghan have taken big swings, global engagements, media deals, foundations, advocacy, but many of their moves also seem reactive rather than proactive. When the Senabale scandal broke, accusations of bullying, misogyny, leadership dysfunction, Meghan was silent. You know, it was Harry that faced the fallout. Yeah. Even when investigations concluded there was no widespread wrongdoing, the perception is very damaging. And the fact that they tend to stay so quiet when things blow up in their face, you know, brand management is about minimizing collateral damage. It's about laying down your guardrails in advance. It's about understanding that once you attach your name or your face to something, you own some of its reputation forever. And this is a hard lesson that these two are having to learn since they've stepped back as members of the British royal family.
Yeah, indeed. And you're so right. I mean, old Meghan, even though she was sort of tangentially involved in the sort of unravelling of Centre Barley, because Sophie Chandorka, the leader of the charity, felt that Meghan had upstaged her at one of these polo events.
Well, upstaged is like, it was disrespected.
Yeah.
It wasn't upstaged.
Yeah.
It was disrespected, because I don't think Sophie Chandorka needed to stand up there next to Meghan Markle. It was Meghan Markle elbowing her and removing her that she felt was rude.
But the point was that this was essentially Harry's problem. I mean, in a sense, Sophie Chandorka and the other African representatives of Centre Bale felt that the Harry's style of leading this charity, they didn't like it. You know, he raised money at these posh champagne polo events full of multi-millionaires in Florida, and they felt it smacked of white saviorism. So it was a race row, really. And Harry took all the flack, and when that trouble unfolded spectacularly, massive headline-hitting scandal all over the world, old Meghan was conspicuous by her absence. We didn't hear a word from her. Well, she can't be conspicuous by her absence now that World Vision seems to be in the frame, can she?
Well, she will be. I hate to break it to you, but she will be. I mean, in the court of public trust, even old associations are live wires. Look at Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. And unless you do the hard work, due diligence, accountability, integrity, those wires will open you up to criticism, sometimes more criticism than you ever anticipated. And again, in the court of public opinion, proximity matters, past and present blur. Photos are still online, like you just said. Events are still remembered. In the digital age, background checks, deep archival digging, old press trips, everything can be repurposed, and it often is. This doesn't just matter for Harry and Meghan, and we see that the Wales family, they're so good at this. It matters for anyone who builds a public platform, especially those who frame their identity around social justice, advocacy, and humanitarian work. If you associate with causes without careful vetting, you build vulnerabilities. And when a brand is vulnerable, African Parks Charity, every misstep or every delayed response is magnified. You know, Meghan knows that you are who you associate with. That's why she invites herself to Paris Fashion Week, and she attends high-profile events. She makes she makes associations with charities or causes that she thinks make her look good. But I think that's all for her, just a part of building visibility. Visibility doesn't exist in a vacuum. The people and organizations you align with become part of your brand. They don't just bolster you. They also risk bringing you down. Look at the chaos surrounding Tyler Perry and the accusations of sexual harassment from previous co-workers or people that worked underneath him. That's Lily's godfather. When scandal hits, the question becomes, do you shrink back, deny everything? Do you step up, own the associations, dissect what went wrong, execute cleanups? These people just, that's when never complain, never explain is suddenly convenient to them. That this motto that they have villainized since stepping back from the British royal family. And one of Harry and Meghan's greatest weaknesses has always been this gap between intention and execution. Their stated values are often big, but their structures of accountability and their processes for choice and their consistency and follow through are much less visible. And that gap is exactly where scandals and damage tend to happen. Yeah,
and who can forget, in terms of Meghan backing out as soon as there's any kind of aroma of trouble. Jessica Mulroney, her best friend in Canada, who took such a prominent role in Meghan's wedding to Harry. Her kids were bridesmaids of honor, weren't they? And was dropped like a stone the moment she got involved in a race row. Meghan just dropped her like a stone, doesn't talk to her anymore. So, you know, she runs a mile at the first sign of bad publicity. Well, now she's not going to be able to run away from World Vision. As I say, no one is saying this is her fault. but it's not a good look. Talking of not good looks, she went to this, well, we talked earlier in the week about this blizzard of activity that she's treated us to. Paris, New York, Washington, blah, 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 you know. She does this, doesn't she? Every now and then you don't hear from her for a month, and then suddenly she's here, she's there, she's everywhere, you know, in your face. I think she pines for publicity, you know. She's a fame chaser, a shameless fame chaser. Anyway, she goes to Washington for this Fortune next level influencer conference, and she takes to the stage, and also other losers like Kamala Harris are there. So she takes to the stage, she gets interviewed about her business empire, such as it is, and starts talking about her Netflix deal, and even by her, you know, word salad standards. You know, you can never understand a word she talks unless you speak Californian psychobabble. She's very difficult to understand. I mean, here she is, rabbiting on, garbling on, gobbledygooking on in Washington. Have a listen to this.
When I was on Suits, that was my last time really in a position with a very large team. We had a crew of 200 people. And I worked on the show for 7 years, and I loved the crew. I love that experience and the culture that's on set as well. And so I think being able to now have my own business, it's very different than being on set. And even the set for With Love Meghan, that's a crew of 80 people. It's still a very large crew. But for my business, I've been very decisive about having a lean team. I think you want to have a great soundboard of people that are with you and with varied points of view. You want someone who's going to push back. You want someone who's going to be so creative and savvy in a space that might not be my skill set. So I love creating that culture, having that camaraderie with my team, and playing and being curious. Constantly just pushing the envelope to ask the questions of how can we show up in a way that truly indicates that we are putting care into every detail.
I mean, you know, could you say that again in English, please, Meghan? And then she went on, Kinsey, to talk about her Netflix deal. Basically, like the Obamas, she got dumped by Netflix. She had a $100 million contract. When it came to an end, they said, well, we're not paying you any more money, but first, if you come to us first, a first look deal, then, you know, if we don't want it,
the same deal that you and I have with Netflix.
Exactly, that everybody does. Yeah, exactly right. Now, she talked that up as if it was the contract of the century. It's not. And then she sort of spoke in terms of how it was fabulous that, well, if you cut through all the verbiage, the nonsense, the difficult to understand gobbledygook, the psychobabble, she basically said, Netflix has dropped me. There won't be any more series of With Love Meghan. And then she said, I'm going to concentrate now on short films. What that means is Instagram posts, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she does the same pivot and tries to distract from the actual question when asked about expanding into being in physical stores. She tap dances around that and says, well, maybe we do small runs in limited editions. And, you know, I was having this conversation with someone else. No, if you could be in Target or Walmart, you would. The reason she's not in those places is because she's not actually pushing a lot of product out the door. And because she would have to release the analytics if she did partner with a legitimate business. There's no way that Target or Walmart would hide the actual sales numbers from a company like Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal. Everything she does is so carefully controlled so that she can continue to grift. Same with podcasting. She could have stayed at Spotify. She moved over to Limonada because Limonada is not going to release the actual stats of how many viewers, how many listeners actually tuned into her podcast. You know, I think what she continues to do is find these places that will perpetuate this lie that everything's great and everything's going well and she's rocking and rolling. And Fortune, I would put in that category.
Exactly right. And she was also asked during that interview whether or not she would consider a cookbook or maybe even editing a magazine. And her answer began with, I love paper. I love the sentimentality of paper.
Well, she worked at Paper Source. Yeah. She made sure we know she worked at Paper Source. Yeah, obviously you love paper, Meghan. Chill out.
Yeah.
Save the trees.
Well, you're from America. You live in California. Can you explain to me what the sentimentality of paper is?
I think it's Meghan just kissing the butt of a magazine in front of her, because the next line is from the host, well, we can help you with that. And she's like, now I know who to call. Oh, and it's very cringeworthy. But yeah, that entire thing was so awkward and I mean, so orchestrated. And I don't know what the ultimate objective was. If I were to do these PR blitz that she does every few months, like you said, she does do that. All of a sudden, she's doing interviews with Emma Grande and Jamie Kern-Lima, and she's sitting on the Drew Barrymore stage. Yes, occasionally she does these little blitzes. But if I were in charge of her PR, I'd want one solid theme. So everybody that caught her at Paris Fashion Week and New York or Washington, D.C. understood what she was trying to do. Yeah. And I didn't see that. I just saw Meghan looking for attention and trying to find the nearest camera.
Really good point, Kinsey. You know, she's committing the cardinal sin of publicity. She's confusing people. You know, you've got to work out what your mission is and then try to explain that mission clearly. Now, as I say, she speaks fluent Californian psychobabble, so she's pretty much incapable of explaining anything clearly. But what we've seen in the last week, you know, she's in Paris, you know, oh, I'm the catwalk queen or the queen of the style scene. Then she's in New York, Humanitarian of the Year award, but not really, because she's making videos of Harry in the background and she's eating pizza and here's her clothes and here's her high heels. Oh, then she's off for lunch with the editor of American Vogue. Then she goes to Washington, starts talking about As Ever again and all that. You think, well, hang on. What is it you're trying to tell us here? What are you doing? You know, yes, people are seeing you, but what are you telling us? I mean, you know, she wants to make $1 billion. Who wants to be a billionaire? She does. But there's no direction. It's like a sort of spinning dervish, just lashing out all over the place. Everybody's going, what exactly is it that you are up to?
Yeah, what exactly do you stand for? I mean, if you look at the Archwell motto, it's show up, do good. I mean, they leave it vague again, so nobody can hold them accountable for not showing up very often or doing much good. If they were specific in what their mission was, then people could hold them accountable and say, well, why weren't you at this? And why didn't you contribute in this way? But we don't know what her mission is. I watched one of the speeches that she gave at the World Mental Health Day Summit.
That was in New York.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was good. She did a great job. She clearly studied her script. She knew some of the stats that were important to get across when talking to a room full of people that were passionate about the same thing. That's truly what she should be uploading to Instagram, that speech. But instead, we got a montage of her closet, her high heels, and someone shoving sushi in their mouth.
Yeah.
Like
don't forget slices of pizza as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, she wants to be the fun time girl. It's interesting because she really tries to create a distance between her and social media during that Fortune talk. And she says that she has a weird relationship with social media. Again, perpetual victim. But As Ever will continue to expand in the social media space, but not her, because she's not necessarily comfortable with it and the feedback. That's a lie, because she loves posting those videos. She loves posting that content. There's clearly not an intelligent strategy happening, because the only thing really I would have posted from New York was the speech she gave at the not accepting an award where she's, you know, patting herself on the back. But day two, when she's talking about the statistics and why children are so vulnerable online, she for 2 seconds sounded like an intelligent individual that I would trust with this information. She needs to lean more into that authority, but she desires to be at Paris Fashion Week. She desires to be on the cover of Vogue. Her ambition to be famous is larger than her ambition to make an impact.
Absolutely, and those two Instagram posts you and I discussed the other day, the inappropriateness of the New York post, where she's there to pick up an undeserved Humanitarian of the Year award, but that isn't to denigrate the excellent work of Project Healthy Minds, all about mental health for kids and everything. So it's a serious mission, and as you said, she did, to be fair, she made a serious speech. Well, what was her Instagram post while in Manhattan? It's her with pizza and high heels and Harry grinning like a gormless git in the background, like a old ginger nut standing there. And then there was another one of him in a sort of sweatpants doing the same thing. And there he's in the background, and I thought, there you have it. You know, this is, in my view, this is a very lopsided relationship in which she takes the lead. And this, for me, these two videos are always with her in the foreground, him grinning in the background. One of them, he's not even in sharp focus. I thought, there you go, that is a pictorial metaphor for their relationship. Her starring role, glittering, high heels, flash stuff, him in the background wearing sweatpants.
Well, I think that the most telling part of the Fortune conversation was at the very end. She is talking about financial independence, and she says that there shouldn't be anything taboo about talking about your financial independence and our independence overall. And then they don't refer to
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and they don't talk about Prince Harry or the Duke of Sussex. She only refers to him as her husband. Like, I think that she's trying to make him appear smaller when she says that.
Yeah.
Why are you the Duchess of Sussex and he's not the Duke of Sussex? When someone talks about your husband, they should, if you are the Duchess of Sussex sitting on that stage, it should be the Duke of Sussex or Prince Harry. When she just says my husband, she's lowering him.
Yeah. And what would you think, just the last question really, Kinsey, I just was reading a report. I
can't believe, last question, I can't believe you haven't even acknowledged the award she got this week, the other award she got this week.
Okay, well, all right, I'll do the last question in a minute. What other award did she get?
Can you believe
I get lost, there's so many. She wins.
Meghan Markle has won a gold award in the Business People and Entrepreneurs Shaping Culture category of the Signal Award, which aims to recognize meaningful podcasts.
Are you serious?
She nominated herself, by the way. And so, yes, another award for Meghan Markle.
Wow, that's a hell of an award. I mean, you know, there was me thinking she didn't really deserve the Humanitarian of the Year award, and then you tell me she's won an award for making great podcasts. Well, in terms of not deserving an award, that one takes the biscuit, or the cookie, as you might say in America, right?
This is the same podcast that was being beaten by white noise on the podcast.
That's right. How to get to sleep. I know how to get to sleep. Listen to Confessions of a Female Founder. That'll put you straight out, guaranteed. I can't even remember what my last question to you was.
Sorry.
It was. What was it going to be? Yeah, what's Harry up to then? Or what, in all this? What is he actually doing? It's all her, isn't it?
I think that he's desperate to get back in with the British royal family because he knows that that's his only outlet, that that's really his only opportunity to shine. And what's so sad is that Meghan keeps jeopardizing that by sitting on the Fortune stage talking about how she was healing after stepping back as a member of the British royal family. Well, of course, our minds immediately go to those nasty villains over in Buckingham Palace that made the less than 2 years of her life where she was a princess a nightmare from hell. I think that he really would like to get back in with the royal family, and I think she jeopardizes that.
Yeah, I know what my last question was. It was this, that you know, we just talked about more and more talk of the marriage being in some trouble, but I think there's always tension in that marriage because they're very different. You know, she's a kind of a desperate fame chaser, and he doesn't even understand that because he's a member of the British royal family. So he's been famous since the moment he was born, and always will be. So she doesn't, you know, there's some very different people in that respect. She's chasing money, money, money. She wants to be a billionaire. Again, he doesn't really understand that sort of thing. I think he's struggling for cash now, we know that. But that's not the point. He's a member of the royal family. The royals always expect money to come round the corner somehow, some way, and it probably will. So I think that is always... there's always tension in that relationship. And I know what my final question was. It was this. I can't remember if I read it in the Mail online or the Daily Express online, but somebody had written a piece about Meghan being in Washington, and they referred to her as the former royal. How do you think she'd like that?
Oh, I think she'd loathe that. I think that would drive her up the wall. No, she wants you to know she is the Duchess of Sussex, making jam upside down with her tongs in Montecito.
Yeah, no. She's the queen of haute couture now. You know that. She's got a new job. Next week she'll have another one, and we'll talk about that. Kinsey, really good to talk to you. Cheered me right up. Have a lovely weekend. We'll talk on Monday. Kinsey Schofield there, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. I think I'm on a podcast this week as well, so always good to talk to Kinsey.